Good morning. It's Friday, November 9th. I'll be talking about Valkyrie of Desire novel updates uh, and the Jabberwaki short story update, some writing tips, some story background on the cover for Ranger of Path and what I'm looking for in the cover for Valkyrie of Desire, and a little bit about the gaming session that's coming up this weekend, this Sunday and Monday, and the Valkyrie of Desire chapters that I have ready, chapter 17 and 18, are pushing into the center of the second act, the pinch point, and I didn't get, so 17 should be up this morning, and 18's still in the queue on Scribophile, the critique exchange website, which I recommend. And chapter 18 has a buildup of tension preparing for a kind of showdown, and I stopped it and scooted into chapter 19 to continue. And this was a tough decision. It's something I think novelists often face about whether to have a longer chapter or split, when to divide things. And it's easy if you change settings, if time passes. It's a little tougher if it's the pacing, and it's kind of hard to explain without having it laid out before you, but it just kind of it feels right. And but it wasn't in my outline, wasn't in my structure, so I'm gotta be fluid with that and not be a stickler for the plan, which, as I mentioned last week about my sticking to my plan in the gaming session, not going well. The Jabberwaki Part 3 is in queue on Scribophile, should be up soon. And then Part 4, I'm not sure whether that's going to be the last one for this short story series, for the Jabberwaki short story series, or I'll do a Part 5. It's a similar thing for Valkyrie of Desire, chapter 17 and 18, where do I want to split? It'll be a same, there won't be a time jump between, if I do a 5, there won't be a time jump between 4 or 5. It'll be a kind of a pacing, a tension thing. So it'll be the same scene and not a time jump. It'll just feel right. So hopefully that will come out for readers. Using Scribophile, I critique a lot of other people's work, a lot of other aspiring writers, and I usually see things that I want different right away. Opening lines, opening paragraphs are, of course, essential. And writing these short stories, these flash fiction pieces, I think has really helped me develop my skill in an opening moment, in an opening scene. I like it when there's something that sets the physical moment, physical scene, and then the very next thing is something about the point of view character, the main character. No other person is mentioned before the point of view character, before the main character. The very first person that the reader might see through their eyes is that main character, is that point of view character. I don't like filtering language. I don't like overuse of adverbs. Filtering language is the main character. Or let's say John is the main character. John heard a dog barking rather than just saying there's a dog that's barking. A dog barks. And it just, that filtering language, that heard, that seems, thinks, feels, it creates a distance between the reader and the story that you usually don't want. You want closer in immersion. And then for adverbs, they're often a crutch. I mean, sometimes it makes sense, but they're often shouldn't be there because it slows down pacing, or it's replacing description that would be helpful. And there's a lot of little grammar things that I think are maybe don't need to be mentioned. It's more the stylistic things that stick out to me. Like for dialogue tags versus action tags, and using both together, you usually only need one. Dialogue tag is, let's say, he said. An action tag is he hits the table, and then immediately you have the quotations for the dialogue. And if you say he hits the table and says, you can just say he hits the table. You don't need to do both. And things like that. So a few writing tips. Covers. So I'm starting to think about the Ranger Path, Valkyrie of Desire cover, and I'm thinking back to the Ranger Path cover and what the kind of personal story that I associate it with. So the Ranger Path book is done, it's out there. It took me a while to find a good cover for it after I had finished it, and it was a pre-made cover that just suited it well. I thought of when I was a kid, living in Hawaii, not long after I moved there, I was being taught to swim, and I was being thrown off the dock into the water as a 4-year-old and being told to swim back to be able to eat lunch. And I would barely come back and I'd be tossed out again, barely come back and be tossed out again. And I got really tired and I sunk into this like olive green Hilo Bay water, and I remember looking up and seeing the surface of the water and reaching out and panicking, and then just breathing in. I felt like I was breathing water. I'm like, oh, this isn't so bad. I can breathe water, and then blackness. And I was resuscitated by those that had been throwing me in, who were very regretful, and they caused the problem, but they also saved me. And I did get taken to the hospital, but I was fine. And it was a traumatic experience. And the cover, Ranger Path, has this face that's under this green water, and the main character has kind of a similar experience that he's pushing through throughout the book. He's kind of drowning. And the Valkyrie of Desire book, the main character has a burden, a pregnancy that she believes is a burden. And I'm thinking of another story, personal story, that I've heard from someone who had a similar burden in a place where there was no one to help her. And I mean, not just in a city where she didn't have any people, but in a forest in the middle of nowhere, like literally no one around, no one to help her. And she had a very traumatic and difficult choice to make. And just thinking about that and this main character for the book I'm currently working on, I'm just imagining a woman, kind of from like a silhouette of a woman, maybe that's pregnant, and you just with a thematic red tint. So I'll be keeping my eyes open for a pre-made cover that'll suit that. Otherwise, I might have to just fork out the extra cash. So for covers for aspiring writers, take your time. I suggest looking at pre-made covers by someone that does good work, and if you don't find what you need, just fork out the extra cash and have it done specifically with what you want. Even if you're good with graphics art, I've consistently heard, and I agree, don't do your own cover. Have someone else do it for you. And this gaming session this weekend will be the party facing off against a very powerful force of siege level monsters, or monster, and supported by a strike force of the giant mushroom people. And the party will be stubborn, I'm sure, and get smushed and utterly annihilated. And then they can, do their first level characters all over again. I'm cool with that. Just go cycle them right back through. I don't have to develop any new material. My goal is to kill them, have them start over, and yeah, maybe they'll have better luck the second time around. I suppose they're creative, they're reasonably smart. Maybe they'll find a way to survive. Again, I don't know how to really survive. They really shouldn't survive as much as they do. Yeah, so see you next week.